You're still doing that online work? My dad's voice echoed across the dinner table, laced with that familiar chuckle, the one he reserved for things he didn't take seriously. Mom stirred her iced tea. My older brother, Troy, smirked. Must be nice to work in your pajamas. I smiled, pretending it didn't sting.
Yeah.
It is. Truth was, I'd been grinding silently for years, investing in startups, consulting with tech founders, and slowly building my own private equity network. But to them, I was the dropout who wasted her Stanford scholarship because I didn't want to join the family manufacturing business. The same business my father, Anthony Torres, had built from scratch. The same one my brother was now running. The same one I'd just acquired, through layers of shell companies and carefully orchestrated buyouts. As they kept laughing, I glanced at my phone beneath the table. Strathmore Dynamics acquisition successful. You now hold 100% of Torres Steel Holdings. I felt my pulse.
Calm. Cold. Ready.
They had no idea their empire was mine now. But I wasn't here just for business. This was personal. Cliffhanger. Vanessa, sweetie, my mom said. Promise me you'll try harder to fit in this year. I just smiled. Oh, I plan to do much more than fit in. The next morning, I stood in front of the Torres Steel headquarters, the same concrete beast where I'd once cried in the parking lot after my father called my digital agency a cute distraction. Now I owned this building. Every bolt, every brick. I walked through the revolving doors in heels they never thought I'd grow into. Can I help you? The front desk receptionist looked up, puzzled. I have a 9 a.m. with your CEO. She glanced at the schedule. Troy Torres. I smiled. That's the one. I was escorted to the executive floor. The last time I'd been here, Troy had tossed me out for suggesting automation could improve production. This place runs on steel, not software, he laughed. That was 5 years ago. Now he greeted me with a confused look, rising from his chair slowly, like he was seeing a ghost. Vanessa? What are you? I'm the new majority stakeholder, I said simply, placing the signed acquisition documents on his desk. Effective this morning, Strathmore Dynamics, my holding company, completed the buyout. He blinked. Wait, that's not possible. You bought us? Technically, I said, walking around to his chair. I bought you. The silence in the room was delicious. I own 100% of Torres Steel Holdings. Strathmore Dynamics absorbed your debt-ridden subsidiaries. The board was notified an hour ago. Troy's voice cracked. Dad's going to kill you. I leaned down.
No, Troy.
He's going to have to answer to me. Cliffhanger. Downstairs, my father's name lit up on my phone screen. I let it ring. The game had just begun. I let the call go to voicemail. 10 minutes later, my father stormed into the lobby like a hurricane in cufflinks. His voice boomed before the elevator doors could fully open. Where is she? Where's my daughter? I stood at the top of the executive staircase.
Calm.
Unbothered. Holding a cup of coffee in the same boardroom he'd once banned me from entering.
Hi, Dad, I said.
His face went red. Tell me this is some sick joke. I gestured toward a seat. Take a breath. Let's talk business. He didn't sit. Of course not. I built this company for our family. You really went behind my back and bought it like a vulture? What? You think this makes you powerful now? No, I replied. I know it does. He paced. How did you even afford this? I smiled. Remember when you said my online work was a waste of time? Turns out those silly projects included AI logistics tools that now run 3 major distribution companies, one of which just secured a $40 million valuation. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Oh, and I also sold a carbon emissions tracking patent to Tesla last year, I added. Not bad for a girl who works in her pajamas, huh? His tone shifted, almost like a man realizing his throne was gone. You should have come to me. We could have talked, worked something out. I tried, I said, my voice steady. I offered you automation strategies, expansion plans, investor partnerships. But you laughed. You all did. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. This is your new role, I said. Consultant. You'll report to our operations director. I've kept your title out of respect, but the decision-making? That's mine now. His hand shook as he opened it. This isn't how we do things in this family, he said.
No, Dad.
This is how I do things. Cliffhanger. He stared at the contract in stunned silence, then ripped it in half. I smiled, already pulling out a second copy. By the time I got back to my condo that night, I had over a dozen missed calls.
Mom. Troy.
Even my aunt in Tucson. The family group chat was on fire.
Troy.
You humiliated Dad.
Mom.
Vanessa, why would you do this to us? Aunt Rosa. Sweetheart, your father isn't eating. Please talk to him. It amazed me how quickly they forgot the years they ignored my voice, my ideas, my presence. No one asked why I did it. No one said, "We're proud of you." I put my phone face down. The next morning, Troy called an emergency board meeting, tried to frame it as a hostile takeover. I walked in early, documents in hand. Troy stood at the head of the conference table, looking smug. "Glad you could join us," he said to me in front of the others. "We're all a little confused about how this buyout occurred." I smiled at the board. "Good morning. I'll clear the confusion." I passed out the paperwork. Acquisition ledgers, shell company filings, merger approvals. Every single move legal, timed, and meticulously planned. One of the board members, Janet Keller, the CFO, raised her hand. So, this wasn't hostile. It was strategic. Exactly, I said. And necessary. The company's in debt. Outdated. Overspending on labor and underinvesting in innovation.
Troy scoffed.
Here we go. Tech fairy dust again. I ignored him. I've already secured a partnership with a logistics firm in Austin. We'll reduce costs by 30% in 2 quarters. The board murmured. My father, sitting at the end of the table, looked like someone had drained the color from his world. When the vote came to confirm me as CEO, it passed 5-2. Troy voted no. My father abstained. But it didn't matter. It was official. I wasn't just the girl who left Stanford anymore. I was CEO of Torres Steel. Cliffhanger. Outside the boardroom, my mom waited in tears. "You've broken your father," she whispered. I looked at her and said quietly, "No, Mom. He just never expected his daughter to win." A week into my new role as CEO, I settled into my office, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows my father used to say was only for real leaders. I brought my own furniture, swapped out the dark mahogany desk for clean white marble, and added a quiet espresso machine in the corner. Change was coming inside and out. But on my 3rd day, something odd happened. Janet, the CFO, knocked on my door with a file she shouldn't have had. "I found something," she said, lowering her voice. "Troy's been moving money through a supplier called Westbound Freight Company. It's not a real vendor. It's a shell." My stomach turned. How long? Almost 2 years. He's skimmed over $1 million from inventory budgets. I opened the file. It was all there. Wire transfers. Falsified receipts. Even signatures that didn't match. So that's where the money went. All those renovation delays and supplier errors weren't errors. They were cover-ups. I leaned back. What about Dad? Did he know? Janet hesitated. I don't think so. But the timing of Troy's wedding, the new house, the boat, it all lines up. My jaw clenched. They laughed at me, mocked me for being small.
Poor.
And all this time, they were bleeding the company dry. I called a private investigator that afternoon. I want a full financial audit on Westbound Freight. I want to know where the money went and who else touched it.
Got it, he said.
You want this quietly? No, I replied. I want it done right. Later that night, I stared at a photo on my bookshelf, me at 16, holding a STEM award, grinning like a kid who still believed her family saw her. Now I knew better. Cliffhanger. At 2 a.m., the investigator texted me a photo. It was Troy handing an envelope to a man outside a golf course. Below the image, recipient is registered as the owner of Westbound Freight. You'll want to see the next file. I met the investigator at a quiet cafe on Camelback Road the next morning. He handed me a slim black folder. "Everything's in here," he said, sipping his coffee. Troy didn't just funnel company funds. He laundered them through westbound freight into a private trust under his wife's name. My heart dropped. Troy's wife. He nodded. Emma Carson Torres. She's listed as CFO of Westbound Freight on paper, probably never filed a real tax return. It's a ghost company, but the bank statements don't lie. I flipped through the documents. Emma had been withdrawing cash, buying property in Sedona, even renting a luxury condo in Miami. All of it paid for with money stolen from Torres Steel. I stared out the cafe window, fists clenched. So that's why she always acted like I didn't belong, because she knew the plan. They weren't just mocking me, they were robbing me. They've been slowly building a way out, the investigator added. Word is, Emma's planning to launch a competing brand next year, Steelworks rebranded for luxury eco-construction. Using my family's technology, my company's patents, my father's legacy. I drove straight to headquarters, stormed into Troy's office, and threw the folder on his desk. He barely looked up. "You really can't mind your own business, can you? You stole from this company. It was mine first," he snapped. "You just wormed your way into it."
No.
"I bought it.
Clean.
Legal. And now I'm going to clean house." His smirk vanished when I laid out the consequences. The fraud, the wire transfers, the misuse of company funds. "You'll be lucky if you get probation." Troy stood, his voice low. "You're not going to do this. You won't destroy the family." "You did that," I said, voice steady. "All I'm doing is finishing what you started." Cliffhanger. As I turned to leave, he called after me. "You think Dad will ever forgive you?" I didn't answer. But the truth was, I didn't need his forgiveness anymore. By Monday morning, I had everything lined up. Legal,
HR, PR.
We scheduled an emergency board meeting and invited every department head to attend. Transparency was key. This wasn't just about punishing Troy. It was about sending a message. No one steals from this company. Not even family. He walked into the room cocky as ever, Emma by his side in designer heels, carrying her fake elegance like armor. "Looks like the little sister's trying to make a scene," she said, loud enough for the room to hear. "Not a scene," I replied, standing tall. "An example." I handed every board member a sealed envelope containing the evidence. Bank statements, forged invoices, the company registry showing Emma's role in Westbound Freight, and a timeline of every misappropriated dollar. Janet, the CFO, read silently. One by one, everyone's expressions darkened. "Troy," I said, "you've been stealing from this company for over 2 years. Emma, you created and ran the shell company that helped him do it." Emma laughed nervously. "This is ridiculous. You can't prove." I hit play on the projector. The surveillance video rolled.
Troy.
Envelope. Golf course.
Emma.
Signing documents at the Westbound Freight office address, which, by the way, was a storage unit. The room fell silent. "You've both been removed from all executive roles," I continued. "Effective immediately. Legal proceedings are already in motion. And Emma, if you so much as touch our patent filings again, I'll see you in federal court." Troy's face turned ghostly white. "You destroy your own brother?" I walked up to him. "You destroyed yourself." Emma stormed out. Troy followed, but not before throwing one last glare at me. I took a breath and turned back to the room. We rebuild from here. No more nepotism. No more secrecy. Just hard work, clean books, and vision. The board applauded. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the underestimated girl in the room. I was the future of Torres Steel. Cliffhanger. Later that night, my dad knocked on my door. I hadn't seen him in days. His voice was quiet. "Can we talk?" My father stood at the doorway, shoulders slumped, eyes tired, not with age, but with defeat. The man who once towered over boardrooms now looked small. I nodded and stepped aside. He entered my condo slowly, glancing around like he was walking through a stranger's world. In some ways, he was. We sat in silence for a moment. "You really did it," he said finally, voice rough. You took it all. No, I replied gently. I saved it. From Troy. From his greed. From going under. He stared at his hands, the calloused ones that once built the first factory line with nothing but grit and a blueprint. You were always the smart one. I just didn't understand your world. No, I said softly. You just didn't want to. His eyes met mine, watery but unblinking. I failed you.
I didn't say anything.
I was wrong to laugh, to dismiss you. All those times you came with ideas, plans, I thought I was protecting the family legacy. Turns out I was choking it. His voice cracked. And I hurt you. I nodded once.
Yeah.
You did. A long silence passed. Are you going to press charges against your brother? I exhaled. Only if he tries to come back for more. He nodded.
He will.
Emma, she never stops. I'm ready, I said. This time, I'm not the girl sitting quietly in the corner. He looked down, then back up. Do I still have a place in this future? I stood, walked to the bookshelf, and pulled down a leather-bound notebook. It was my new expansion plan, one he'd never seen. I saved you a role, I said. Advisor. Optional. No power. But plenty of voice, if you're ready to listen. He took it slowly, almost reverently, like it was more valuable than gold. I'll try, he whispered. Good, I replied. That's all I ever wanted. We didn't hug. Not yet. But something had shifted, not in the past, but in what we could build next. The Torres name would still stand. But this time, it stood because of me.